Well, hello and welcome to My Heart on Pages. Guys, when I tell you life has been lifing and we have been dealing with some technological issues for the last probably 20 minutes. So we had to change platforms, but I am so grateful for the ability to pivot. Sometimes people don't have the ability to pivot. So, with that being said, I am Dr. LaQuita Parks. I am your host of My Heart on Pages, where we talk to authors about the why behind their stories. And I am excited to have my special guest tonight, Miss Fee Davis, Felicia Davis. She goes by Fee, and she is the best-selling author of Alabaster Heart. And we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about the why behind her story. So before we get started, thank you so much for your patience. Life be lifing, and sometimes you can't dictate what's going to work and what's going to not work, and technology is one of those things. So introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and tell us, have you always wanted to be, because you're a poet and you're a writer, have you always wanted to be a poet and a writer?
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Felicia Davis. I go by Fee, and I'm a native of Maryland. And I do a couple of things, but I'm mainly known right now for my writing. Poetry is not something I thought of doing at first. I used to do a lot of, nonfiction and different, narratives in high school, and then I branched to poetry. So.
Okay, okay. So when did you first start writing, or when did you first know that your poetry was good? It was beyond um the childhood rhymes. When did you know it was good?
Um, After it was published, you guys told me it was good. At first, it was like, okay, like I made my first poem like a day after Valentine's Day,
Hmm.
and I was like, this sounds good, but I kept it within the contains of my journal.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
if I was to release it, I think it sounds good.
They say, okay, this is pretty good. Like
Yeah,
some people will write and write, and we are our own worst critics. And so it's like, I don't think it's good, but it takes somebody. That's kind of like, how do you know you're a good person? I'm a good person. I'm a good person. Well, how do you know? That's measured by somebody else. So
right,
somebody else says, "Oh, this is good." Then you start thinking, it's really good. However, sometimes it depends on who it is that's saying
right.
it's good, and sometimes it's like, I don't know. They just saying that. So how your Alabaster Heart is your first solo book project, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
it was phenomenal doing that by myself, a learning experience.
Yes, yes. So you are a previous best-selling author already, but this is your first
Yes.
solo book project. So tell us about your first book. It was a collaboration book, right?
Yes, Rising Above Narcissistic Abuse. And it, it's a powerhouse book. All the ladies kind of just went through, I guess, having to process their pain and put it on paper.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And God just showed out and it became bestseller. And that was published by you.
Yes,
So,
thank you very much. When I first met Ina, who was the visionary for that project, I didn't know narcissism is a different word. It's not a word that's been around for years and years. It's over the
right.
last few years it's a new word. And so when she came to me and asked me about the project, I was like, okay, what is it? What is this about? And as I started researching, I was like, oh my goodness. I saw myself in a lot of your stories. I saw my relationship. I was like, oh wow. This
Yeah.
is and so having a name to it is something, and then overcoming that
Right.
is a whole different ball game. So your story was powerful in that book along with the other ladies. And so it became a bestseller, as well it should be. And I am bestsellers are great. I don't have a problem with bestsellers, but I like for people to read the stories and because they are very impactful. And so
Right.
we fast forward to Alabaster Heart. And Alabaster Heart is a different kind of poetry book. So tell us about well, first of all, tell us about the history of the name. What made you name the book Alabaster Heart?
Yes. Good question. I remember the story of Mary. Remember Mary that poured the alabaster box or broke it at the Lord's feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of people who carry a lot of pain inside their heart, they can pour it as an offering before God as a alabaster heart. So it was just, I know it's a random name, it's very unique, but it makes my book stand out because
Mm-hmm.
people are go like, I remember Alabaster, the box, but the
Mm-hmm.
heart,
Mm-hmm.
after reading this, it's like, okay, maybe I can start communing with God and kind of telling a little bit more about what I'm going through and not feeling like you have to contain it inside. So,
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of God's tear bottle.
yes.
Our tears are so important to God that He keeps them in a tear bottle. I learned that when I was going through a really ugly divorce, and I was always, and for some reason, that's just my brain. I'm always fighting to not cry. I'm
Yeah.
always fighting back the tears. And a friend of mine says, stop fighting the tears
Right.
because they're important to God. So they're
Yes.
so important. He keeps them in a tear bottle. So cry. And so I find myself sometimes saying, if I start crying, the floodgates will open and I can't close them again. But your tears are still important to God. So
It really is.
I
That's
love
true.
that. So it reminds me of the Alabaster Heart. So as you were, so what made you start writing? Did you write all of these poems? Because there are a lot of poems. It's a really heavy book from a poetry standpoint, as far as quantity. And I'm not saying that it's heavy for any other reason, but as far as quantity, did you have, like, sometimes we'll go like I've done. I'm writing a book and it's like, oh, you know what? I wrote a poem 10 years ago that would go with this. And
Hmm.
so and then I'll add it to it because it fits.
Yeah.
So how did you write your poems through the process of what you were going through, or were they ones that you had written and put them to the side because it was a healing mechanism? How did that happen for you?
Well, all of them are based off real life experiences,
Hmm.
um, based off, person, place, or thing. And it was through the process. I mean, I think maybe a few of them I had to kind of think back and write about it. And
Hmm.
then, through God, I was able to form it into poetry. Yes, it contains a lot. I
Hmm.
thought about putting it in the storytelling form,
Hmm.
but some people don't really process information like that. So
Right.
I added the creative aspect of putting it in a poetry way. So,
Yeah, and you did a great job. I like that. I want to talk about some of the ones that are my favorite. And so if you're listening to the recording of this interview, you're gonna have to purchase the book.
yeah.
You're gonna have to go to Amazon and purchase Alabaster Heart, or you're gonna have to connect with Fee through social media or email and get an autographed copy from her. You will not be disappointed. But in the meantime, and in between time, I want to talk about some of the poems that you have here. And
Yeah.
I love the way that you put them in parts.
Mhm.
So in the first part, you have experiences of God's love and purpose. And I like that. And some of the names. Some of the
Yeah.
names. So I'm just gonna randomly, talk about some of my favorite. And I want to know what was the history behind the name of that particular poem. And
Okay.
so and I also love what you did. You not only did you just do the poem, you gave a brief description of what the poem was.
Yes.
So I think that's really relevant because sometimes people write poetry and you have to figure out what it means. And sometimes the
That's true.
interpretation of the author, you don't know what it means, and you
Right.
can get it wrong. I had a conversation with somebody today and I was going through doing some coaching and some feedback. And I said, so after reading this is what I got. Tell me if I'm wrong. And she said, you're wrong. And I said, well, okay.
Wow.
Hey, I said, well, tell me what I need to know. And so
Yeah.
after she finished, I said, okay, I get it. I understand. I said, well, let's do it this way so that your reader will understand what you mean. And I love the way you did this because, and I think I shared this when we were doing the publishing process. I said, as readers, we're lazy.
Mm.
We want you as the author, you're the expert. This is your area of expertise. So you it's your job to tell us what you want us to know. And
Right.
we don't need to go digging and trying to figure it out because sometimes people, just like you said, people don't process things
Yeah.
in certain ways. And if they have to go and find it, they
Exactly.
abandon the process. So
Hmm.
I love the way, something's in my eye. So I love the way that you gave a brief little description of what that poem was about. So we're going to talk about a couple of mine. One of mine that I love is Eyes with a Story.
Oh, yes.
And it's the
Good one.
silent pain, hidden strength, and hope our eyes reveal. So tell me about that poem. What was the background for the title?
Yeah. Eyes with the Story is basically about everyday people we pass on a daily basis. They say eyes are windows to the soul, and not a lot of us kind of look at people. We kind of just take their word for it.
Mhm,
So I felt as though if I write eyes with a story, people will be a little bit more sensitive to what people are going through.
mhm,
Someone might say, I'm okay. And then you look at their eyes and it says something different.
mhm, mhm,
So when I wrote that, I thought about everyday people going through life
mhm.
saying, I'm okay, I'm fine. And they're really not.
I love that. Even when a person is sick, I'll say,
Mhm.
your eyes
See
look a
it.
little peaked.
Hmm.
The eyes look weak. And again, you're exactly right because you can tell when a person's been crying. Even if you dry the tears up, you wipe your face, those eyes are gonna tell. They're gonna have that puffiness to them. They're gonna have that redness to them.
Right.
And I love that because you can look at a person, you can tell when they've been smoking. You can
Yeah.
tell when they've been crying. You can tell when the eyes are dilated. You can tell when they look sorrowful, they look sad. So I love that. This is one of my favorites, Eyes with a Story. I love that.
Thank you.
The other one that I like is um, Mother, Do You Hear Me?
Oh, yeah, that's many people's favorite.
Mother, do you hear me? Bringing the mother God intended. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's about motherhood and being in between who God wants you to be as a mother and who you are now. Most of us are very imperfect. We may act on social media or around friends, we got it all together and we don't. So my kids, sometimes I actually wrote it in their perspective.
Hmm,
Like,
hmm,
are you hearing me out? There was like a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, okay, just wait a minute, or yeah, I'll circle back to you, stuff like that. But I wanted to write it in their perspective through their eyes. Like, okay, I know she's a good mom, but is she really present at the moment? So it makes you kind of just slow down
hmm.
and kind of figure out, like, as a mother, I'm not perfect. I'm getting there, but I can do it through Christ, type of thing.
Oh, that's a beautiful one, and it's fitting for Mother's Day because Mother's Day is it's a hard day for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I don't have my mother, so it's difficult. So on the one hand, I don't have my mother, but I'm a mother and
Yeah.
a grandmother. So my daughters are mothers. So it's bittersweet. I have the memories, and for me, their anniversaries of their death just passed. So it's been a very emotional time. So as we're talking about that, I'm with the Eyes with the Story. I'm right
Yes.
there. And then, the Mother, Do You Hear Me? Because sometimes I think about myself as a mother and I think about my mom as a mother, and I say
Mhm.
this all the time. As we grow older, I'll say, oh my goodness, my adult children can get on my nerves sometimes
Mhm.
because as adults we start to judge our mothers.
Yeah.
Well, she did this or she didn't do this, or I wish she would have did this, I wish she would have done that. And I would say to my children, just be, all I can say is just be a better mama to your children than I was to you. I did the
Right.
best I can. And that's the same thing. That's every mother. They pass
Hmm.
down the best that they know how in hopes
Right.
that the next ones will get it right. Or the next ones, or whatever right looks like, because the world kind of dictates what right looks like, but God has already set the foundation.
That's
So
true.
so I love that and I love how your poems are, even though you were going through your bit of struggles, or whatever you were going through when you wrote them, you intertwine God first in the midst of the poems. So
Yeah.
so I love that. There's another one. It's an interesting one for me. To forgive but not reconcile.
Oh goodness.
Forgiving and being wise. What's the Bible say? Be gentle as a dove, but wise as a serpent.
Yeah. Be wise as a serpent, innocent as a dove.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Talk
we
to
don't
me
always get it
about
right.
that.
So, the reason for that poem, that's the point where it's like, um, I did go through separation and divorce.
Hmm.
Um, and God was teaching me, because before I didn't get it right. I will forgive people and bring them back in, and
Hmm.
then they'll do it again. So God was trying to tell me, you can forgive somebody, but you don't have to bring them back in your life.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, it was like a eureka moment. So I had to write that almost like saying a form of closure without physically doing a closure with
Hmm.
that individual.
Hmm.
So I was saying it in the form of a prayer and also telling it as it is,
Hmm.
like this is where we stand right now. It's I forgive you, but it's just too much you have done,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I can't bring you back in because God wants me to go to the next,
Hmm.
stage or process in my life. And they're not there yet.
Hmm.
So I can't go backwards. I have to move forward,
Hmm.
for the sake of me, for my kids. Other people are counting on me to do what God is calling me to do.
Hmm.
So that's was like a form of a letter closure or something or a prayer.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wrote it in a poetry form.
Hmm. I like that. And it's right. What I love about all of your poems is that there is a lesson in all of them.
Yes, I'm glad you
So
noticed that.
yes, there is a lesson in every one of them. And you know what? And so when if you're listening to this, when you go through, get the lesson. Get the
Yes.
lesson. There is a lesson in every single one. The my other one for this section, experiences of God's love, is jealousy admired. That's the last one in this
Mm.
particular section.
Yeah, that's a heavy one.
Jealousy admired. It's like
Yeah.
jealousy
Yeah, it sounds like
admired.
oxymoron, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to at the pool this morning. One of the ladies, we call her the music lady, and she had a song by old song back in the 80s by Michael Bolton. And he was saying, "Is it pleasure or pain that keeps me coming back to you?"
Mm.
He's like, I'm so confused. Is it pleasure or pain?" And so we both started laughing. And
Yeah.
we were like, who goes back to somebody because of the pain? We know that it's pleasure. And
Hmm.
so as I read this, jealousy admired, when envy hides behind admiration.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Um, so of course a lot of people go through a lot of toxic friendships, relationships, and sometimes some people are so prideful, they won't say that they admire this about you.
Hmm.
Instead, they'll find means to sabotage or to find means to kind of plummet you.
Hmm.
And I was saying it in a spiritual sense because sometimes some people don't know willingly that they're doing that. It's the
Hmm.
spirit behind them.
Hmm.
And most of them secretly do it because they wish they were brave like you to
Hmm.
get where you are now.
Hmm.
So they rather just kind of just be where they're talking and kind of wanting you to get back to where you were before because they were comfortable. But yeah, like I said, jealousy admired is like they really admire you, but it's in the form of jealousy. They won't straight up come and tell you that
Mm-hmm.
I love this about you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just
You
like
know,
almost a role model type of thing, but they're like your hater. I know it's weird, right?
yeah, it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine who she said that there's a person at her where she works, and she said it's like it's almost like the person wants to be her. She's like
Mhm.
it's like everything she does she copies. And she said she was out one day, and the girl kept saying, I'm getting another car, I'm getting another car. And she said when she came back, from being on vacation, the girl had a car exactly like hers.
Oh wow.
Same exact car,
Huh.
and same color.
Wow, okay.
And so, and she was like, uh, and she said somebody said, she wants to be you. And she was like, but it's creepy.
Yeah, that's
It's
creepy.
creepy. It's very creepy. It's very creepy. But envy is a envy is a bad, it's a bad thing to be envious of
Mhm.
somebody. And I like the part, envy behind admiration. And when you intertwine that, there is no place for it in the kingdom of heaven.
Right, yes.
There's no place for it. And so
Yeah.
it's got to be ironed out,
Hmm.
whether it's you or the other person and vice versa, whoever, it
Right.
has to be ironed out. And it kind of goes back to, what, we can get through this, but and I can forgive you, but it doesn't mean that you have to be in my circle, because
That's true.
God didn't say be a doormat.
Exactly.
So, he said forgive, and you can forgive, but it doesn't mean that, we have to be buddies. We don't have to be buddies, and I can still love you, but
Yes.
we have to be, we don't have to be buddies.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that because most of us are empaths and we feel like since we are peacemakers, we have to bring that person back because we
Hmm.
feel deep down inside they can change.
Hmm.
There's some people probably will never change, and
Hmm.
that's where you kind of have to discern and put those boundaries in place and say, well, you were just in my life for this season, but the next season, you just can't come. You just kind of just kiss them goodbye in a spiritual realm or whatever how you do it, and it's just like I wish you well, but God is just saying I have to keep going.
Yes.
So
And you know what? And when you think about that, when that happens, it's really peace for both people.
yeah,
Because can you imagine how taxing it is to keep up with the envy and all that?
yeah,
It's tiring. It's just
yeah.
tiring. So it's really peace for two people. I remember not too long ago, I was talking to a friend, and I was kind of venting, and the response was stop complaining about things you allow.
Hmm.
Stop complaining about what you allow. And I said, ouch. And I was
Yeah,
like, okay, that
that's
kind of
true.
hurt my feelings. And he said, why would that hurt your feelings? And I said, well, I wasn't expecting that. And he said, a conversation needs to be had. And if you keep allowing things, you keep seeing it and you keep allowing it, and you say, okay, well, I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna do this different. He said, you're
Yeah,
allowing it. So stop complaining about it and
that's
be
true.
honest. And after, and he's like, why would that hurt your feelings? And the only reason it hurt my feelings is because I already knew it. I
Yeah,
already knew it. I knew he was telling the truth. I knew that. I just didn't want to, some conversations are hard to have,
that's true.
especially when it's family. So I was like, and I got tickled after I got over my feelings being hurt. My best friend said, that's what I told you last week.
Exactly. Our
That's what I was
confirmation.
trying to tell you. So that was confirmation. And so sometimes saying, okay, you know what, um having the gift of goodbye, that some they said, people, oh, I have the gift. I think I used to hear TD Jake say it. I'm not a follower, but I used to hear him say it all the time. I have the gift of goodbye.
Mm,
And I was like, okay. But at the same time, everybody has to get to that point on their own.
yeah,
And so I love the poems. I love that you intertwine the lesson. And they are and so the poems and you guys have to get the book Alabaster Heart by Fee Davis, because as you're going through, there are lessons and you can get these lessons. You really can, because they're clear. I like the poems, they're clear, and it's not like there are some like prose um poems that are written with in words, and I've published a book like that. One of my clients, his name is John Dewberry. He has a book called Magadosa's Wordette, and so
Okay.
it's a sonnet. And so, sonnets stroll together
Right.
lyrics and songs, and it tells a story, and it kind of goes like this. And you're
Yes.
like, okay, wow, that's deep, but it kind of goes to like music style. Your poems are very simple to understand, and you can get the lesson, you can see the lesson clearly. Now, how you make the application, that's up to the individual.
Right.
But they're beautiful. I like the way that you put them. So I feel like you were obedient to the call.
I hope so.
So the other section, experiences of God's grace and restoration. So the first part was God's love and purpose.
Yes.
And the second part was grace and restoration. So
Yes.
I'm gonna pick out a couple of the ones that I like the best. I like all of them. Don't get me wrong. I like all of them, but there are some that kind of stood out to me a little bit more. Resuscitate me.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of people.
A testimony of God's protection for his divine purpose. Um,
Yes.
and talk about that. Give us your idea of what that means.
Um, yes. So I basically, to give some background, I worked in healthcare. So anyone that worked in healthcare knows about the beep beep clear. Well, anyone, even
Everybody.
on TV shows, you should hear the beep beep clear, from a hospital setting. So I wrote it from a spiritual standpoint, whereby you feel like you're dead inside and God had to resurrect you.
Mm,
So basically, I had gone through a lot of different attacks and different things I'd gone through before I got to where I am now. It took years to get to this point. People think it happened overnight. It didn't. I got to a point where it's like, God, I'm weary. I'm
mhm,
tired. And there's times I'll keep it honest with you. I felt like, God, I just feel like I should go back to what I know back in the world. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but it just felt like I'm going through too much. What's the end result
mhm,
of all of this? So when I say that in the poem to like resuscitate me, it's like God is kind of breathing life back into you,
mhm,
where you felt like you're on life support.
mhm,
So I added my experiences because as a kid, I had asthma. And it was like so many attacks from the enemy. When you answer the call of God in your life, maybe you said something to God as a kid, and God remembers, you go through a lot of attacks. So it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna write that for anybody who can relate that it's the same time you're answering the call, you're in between seasons. You're trying to get through what the enemy is trying to put your way, but God can pull you out of the trenches and just make you a new person.
resuscitate you. I like that you said I almost felt like I needed to go back to that which I knew. And
Yeah.
we do that a lot, because it's the devil you know, or the God you don't know.
Mm.
I'm used to that. My cousins and I talk about that all the time on our podcast. Um, it's it's easy to go back to the known than it is to get to the unknown. I don't know what's over there. I've never been over there. I don't know what's behind that door. It could be very scary. It could be
Mhm.
the woulda, the coulda, the shouldas, and whatever it is that we tell ourselves. My friend would say imposter syndromes. Whatever we
Yeah.
tell ourselves to not go through that door because of fear, when not even understanding that you got to go through that door to get to what the purpose is.
Right.
So when we stop, I heard somebody say, imagine that you're going through it, you're going through the trenches, as you say, and you're like, okay, I'm done. And all you had to do was take two steps to your right, and you would have been in paradise.
Mm.
Gave up before you got those two steps. That's all you need to
Mm.
do is two steps. So we
Yeah,
give up too
heard that
fast.
before.
So I like that the resuscitate me, and as we going through, like everything is, it seems like it's in turmoil in the world. I was listening to a message with one of my favorite preachers the other day, and he said, um, but God is still on the throne. God
Yes,
has an endless supply of resources. God has everything that we need.
exactly.
God is, so if God has an endless source of an endless source, endless amount of resources. If he's our God, he's our this, he's our all, then why in the world are we waiting for the world to give us what we ask for?
It's true.
And
Bible says
so
that. Yeah.
we, as we go through resuscitate me, I love this because it said, and you said it here as a testimony of God's protection and his divine purpose, for his divine purpose. So he
Mhm.
has a purpose for all of us, but he's protecting that,
Yeah,
and he's protecting that purpose because he needs us to get there.
exactly.
And we can't get there if we are afraid to go there. So I love that. I love that. My other one is take care.
Oh, yeah.
Take care, moving
Yeah.
on and embracing God's purpose. Now, tell us what that means, because some people might have a different understanding of what take care means. So
Okay.
from what you meant, what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. But when I wrote that, I was, it was for a particular individual.
Hmm.
Just just not resonating with the signals.
Hmm. Yeah, he didn't read it. He didn't get it.
Yeah. So I was going through like, the separation process.
Hmm.
And then I it just came on me like they're not going to change.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
at this point in time, I was like, I wish you well,
Okay.
um, whatever you're not, I know they're not coming back,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to come and chase you. I have to do what God's calling me to do, even
Hmm.
if it's isolation.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, just take care. I wish you well, whether you understand what that means or not, I have to just continue on.
It's
So
kind of like a do you boo.
yeah, yeah, what, you're not going to affect me anymore. You're not gonna stress me or anything like that. So yeah, take care.
All right, take care. I love it.
You know.
Be you. Do you, boo.
Yeah,
It's we good over here.
right.
I love that. There is another one. I love Better Days Ahead.
Yeah, I like that
I
one too.
love that one. Hope rising after the hardest seasons. And man,
Mm,
are we in a season? We are
yeah,
in a season right now, but I still have a smile on my face. You still
yep.
have a smile on your face. So we still have, we're in a season. So tell us about that. What did you mean with that one?
That was more so of like encouragement to me, and now it's to many others. I just thought about like many seasons where like a hardship, losses, and just trying to motivate myself to continue with the walk. We do get weary.
Hmm.
So anyone that says they don't get weary walking with God, it's like, which God are you following? Because
You're not telling the
you
truth.
have to depend on him. So it's like, yeah, I was getting like weary. It's like everyone's getting their blessings. Everybody, I'm congratulating everybody. I'm showing up and stuff like that. But it's like, when are the better days coming? It's like storm after storm, and it's like trial after trial. And it's like, okay, God, remember me.
Hmm.
So I had to write that and say, you know what? Better days are going to come when I don't know,
Hmm.
but I have hope it will happen,
Hmm.
and I hope to listen to get there. Like you said, you could take two steps and you're at the promised land.
Hmm.
While even though you don't know that you're that close, and
Hmm.
that's what the devil has people aborting
Hmm.
the promise that God has for them because they feel like they're too far, but they're really close.
Mm.
So
hmm those precious promises. I like that as we go through as we go through life's ups and downs, the tribulations and the vicissitudes of life, we have no idea. And as we go through and we're ready to just give in the towel, we forget that tag. We just came through something last time.
exactly.
And God brought us through something last time. Well, why would He bring us through something last time and He won't bring us through something this time?
Hmm.
There are lessons in everything. So sometimes we're repeating the same thing because we didn't get the lesson.
Exactly.
So it's
And it's
like, okay,
painful.
why do I keep repeating the same thing? Why do I keep hitting my head on this brick wall? It
Hmm.
already has the dents. Here's a dent, here's a dent. That's
Yeah.
my imprint. Why? And once I feel like, okay, I get it. I keep
Hmm.
doing the same thing. And so now it's time for me to pivot. And so
Right.
once I pivot for that, then I get through that season because the next season is coming.
Right.
The next season is coming. So I love that. That's one of my favorites. And then the last one I want to talk about, vindicated.
Yes.
Vindicated, rising
Yeah.
through trials into God's favor and restoration. Man, talk about vindicated.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. God does vindicate his children. I know I had this one friend, he told me that word, and till today I still remember it. And I was like, okay, God, when are you going to, you know, vindicate me from the smear campaigns or defamation of character
Mm-hmm.
or, everything that the enemy has thrown my way? When are you going to not like elevate me for my benefit, but kind of show me that you got my back?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, those seasons you kind of have to really figure out like, okay, who is God at this very moment?
Mm-hmm.
Is he just a savior? Is he just a deliverer? Like, who is he? So what vindicated is like almost in a confident way saying that God got my back.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's gonna get me through this. I'm gonna get everything that the enemy has taken. He's gonna silence who is speaking bad about me, and God is gonna get the glory from all of it. It's not about me at all. It's about God getting the glory, and anyone that's in that situation will know that God will do the same for them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. I know when God says, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord.
hmm.
And if we're fighting for ourselves without including God in it, He can't vindicate us.
No, yeah, that's
He
true. That's true.
cannot. So the only way that He can vindicate us is if we allow Him to fight our battles. And that's one of the things as human beings, we're like, okay, I'm gonna fix it. The Bible is full of people that God said this is what's gonna happen. God was taking too long for them. And so they try to take matters into their own hands and they got what they got. And
Exactly.
and the fun part was even in the midst of a lot of the foolishness, in some God was like tired. He's like, okay, you know what? We're not doing this, and
Hmm.
and you just gone. But there were those who God had given the promise to. That lineage made a lot of mistakes, and God still blessed them because of the promise. And so we have got to allow God to vindicate us, to be our savior, to the vengeance truly is his. And we just
Yeah,
sit back and wait because there isn't anything we can do that's in comparison to what God can do.
that's true. And then someone told me, I can't remember if it was my mom or who it was, saying you might be in the way of God trying to do something. It's not like he doesn't want to do something. You're in the way. You're responding to everything that they're saying to you. You're not keeping your mouth shut when you need to. You're not listening. You're kind of just all over the place.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm,
like sometimes you have to step out the way because when you dip your hands into that, that's when it's like, okay, God told you to not do that, and now you're gonna get what they're getting too.
mhm,
So it's
mhm.
like like a child touching a hot stove. Don't touch.
Right, right.
And it's
Be
like,
quiet,
well,
stop
I
it.
don't think it's that hot, but you touch it and you get scorched. And then
Mhm.
you're wondering like, why you didn't tell me not to touch the hot stove? I did, but you thought it was not hot.
Right.
You wanted to test the waters. You wanted to do whatever you're doing, and that was a very humbling experience. Because some of us can relate the smear campaigns,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, saying all types of crazy stuff about
Hmm.
your character, and you're not like that.
Hmm.
And you want to just speak up and say, I'm not like that.
Right. You want to defend
So,
yourself.
right.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, you doing something?
Right.
So, but in the end, you see that they eventually make peace with you.
Hmm.
And sometimes the vindication is not what we think it is. Like God
No.
coming down with, horses, with a, and
Lightning bolts and
yeah,
fire. Yeah.
yeah, it's not.
Making a big
Sometimes,
stink. It's not that.
right. Sometimes it's just like, you guys don't really talk anymore. You fell out.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they're peaceful over there and you're peaceful over there, and just like, okay, I'll take that
Yeah, it's
over.
like, hey, yeah, again, I wish you well. Do your
Hmm.
thing, I do my thing, and the two hearts can go around and do whatever they need to do. And God, and sometimes, just like you said, we're in the way. God is saying, you know what, I want to, in His Word, He wants to bless you in your purpose, and He can't do it because you're holding on to something you need to let go. You're
Yeah,
standing in the way of something, and oftentimes you can be the problem. You
that's
thinking
true.
it's somebody else the problem. You thinking it's him or her or whoever. It's you who are the problem. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we can't open our eyes to see that. But I love your point, your poetry. I love the direction that you took them. I want to say thank you so much for trusting me, trusting my process, and letting me help you take your story from a thought to a realization. As I said when we were working together, your poems are beautiful. They are simply
Thank you.
beautiful. And I know we had conversations about it going through the process. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of
It's
you.
all God.
I really am so proud of you because these poems really, really do. I seriously believe that. I said it to you before. They are very impactful and they have the power to change lives. People, you just have to pick up the book and read the story and connect with her because they can change your life. And I love the poems. I think I asked you when we were going through, I think I asked you before about eviction. um,
Oh, yes.
yeah, and they're evildoers and church pretenders, and I'm just reading some of the table of contents.
Mhm.
You did a wonderful job. So, what advice would you give to the person who wants to write, who has that desire to write poetry or write period, and they're like, you know what, I wrote it, they got it in their secret little journal, and they feel like it's not good enough for anybody but their eyes. What advice would you give them? And listen, I'm getting ready to have my own private summer, so excuse
Yeah,
me.
it's fine.
What advice would you give them?
Um, First of all, make sure you know the intention as to who you're doing it for. Are you doing it for God or are you doing it for yourself? Because if you're doing it for yourself, people can put their mouth on it. They can give you constructive criticism, critique it, give feedback. But when it's for God, it's kind of a whole different ball game. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It's just
Mhm.
like they can't really put their mouth on something God is telling you to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so you have to know who you're writing it for. And I'll also say work with what you have. All of these are not like fresh writings, like I was in my office just writing my
Mhm.
heart out. I
Mhm.
kind of wrote them as, journal entries. Some of them were even notes on my phone. Like
Mhm.
I'll go through something right now and I would just immediately write it. And it's like, okay, I'll keep it there. And then when the book process came, it's like, oh, okay, I can pull from that experience.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I just tell them just work with what you have. And if God is calling you to write, just go with it because God told you to.
Mhm.
But if you're writing for yourself, just prepare for people to put their mouth on it.
You
I mean,
prepare
some
for the
people will put
feedback.
their mouth regardless, but um, God has a way of keeping people's mouth shut when it comes to his stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, you said something very important because I always tell people when I'm talking to people, when I'm speaking to potential clients, I always say, I three questions, the same three questions I've asked for years because they're very important. Question number one is why do you want to write a book? Why do I care about your book as the author, as your audience? Why do I care? There are millions of books out there. What makes your book different?
Right.
Number two, who is your audience? You have to know who your audience is. You can say, oh, everybody's my audience. Anybody who reads poetry, anybody who,
Yeah.
no, everybody is not your audience. You can be writing a book about how to change the oil. And you can say, anybody that has a car is my audience. No, I have a car. I'm not your audience
Exactly.
because I can live my whole life without ever knowing how to change the oil because I can go to the Jiffy Lube and have them to change my oil for me. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be your audience. And then what's your anticipated outcome once your book is published? That's
Mhm.
important because if you know what your anticipated outcome is, what you plan on doing and what your desire is to do with your book, then that's a plan.
Right.
So when you start the process and you understand your why, when life starts lifing, then you want to abandon your process. You want to abandon your why. So those
Hmm.
things are important. But if you're just writing, just like you said, if you're just writing just to be writing, that's fine.
Hmm.
But know that that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
If you don't have a clear plan, a clear direction, then when those negative comments come, it's going to discourage you and you're going to abandon the process. And then you're going to
Right.
feel like your writing wasn't good enough.
Right.
When 100% of everybody living and dead has a story.
Mm.
And 100% of everybody living and dead, their story matters. I
Yeah.
believe that. So do you have any final words for us? What are you working on now? You have any upcoming projects or what's going on that we can, follow you and support you in?
Yes, I have I'm on Facebook, Fee Davis '08. I am working on more poetry.
Awesome.
Um, yes.
Awesome.
And just going by God's leading on that. So I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Um,
Great.
and I just want to say I leave it with this book. The overall theme was to come back to God, repentance.
Mm-hmm.
You messed up, God can get it right, God can fix it, God can restore it and send you on your way. He'll be with you in the process. It's basically not to run from God, but to run to God. So
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you for having me.
we got through it. It was rough
Yeah,
getting connected, but we got through it. We made a way. And I am so, so very proud of you. And so if
thank you.
there's anything that I can help you with, please reach out. Listen, guys, your story matters. I am so grateful and thank you, Fee, for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. If you have not picked up Alabaster Heart, you can, Fee, tell them how they can get your book. Tell them how they can connect with you.
Yes, you can get it from Alabaster Heart, so it's alabaster-heart.com and Amazon, primarily on Amazon. And you can find me right now on Facebook. I'm mainly there. And hopefully it's going to expand more, but I'm just taking step at a day to
Ah,
get where I need to be. So,
great. And so, listen, reach out to her and get the book from her so she can get all of her royalties, okay? Because we love Amazon, but we know Amazon keeps 40 to 50% of your royalties, okay?
right.
So reach out to her so she can get it, and then you can get an autographed copy, okay?
Oh, yes.
All right. So this has been another episode of My Heart on Pages. I am your host, Dr. LaQuita Parks. I am the founder and CEO of PayProV Publishing. And PayProV means pain, progress, victory. Because I believe without pain, there is no progress. And without progress, there can be no victory. I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. So no matter where you are in your story writing journey, if you've got a story, and I know that you do because 100% of everybody living and dead has one, we can help you get started. If you have started your story journey, your story writing journey that I call book projects, if you've started and you find yourself stuck, we can help you get unstuck. And if you finish the process, if you finish doing the writing and you want us to take a look at it, give you some feedback, we can do that too. And if it's ready to be published and you're ready to work with us, we can help you take that story to realization. So thank you so much. Trust the process. 100% again of everybody living and dead has a story. So stay tuned for more. We have some exciting announcements to share that's going to be coming up. We are doing some amazing things. I have some announcements to make. I'm super excited about it. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Until the next time, it has been a plump, pleasing pleasure. Better than a triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Till next time, be blessed. Have a good day. Don't take no wooden nickels along the way. All right.